Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Mueller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success.
I got it. Hang on. Got it. I have to click.
Take it from the Iron Woman. Today, we really have a special treat. I'm intrigued to have Gerdi with us. She was born and raised in the Netherlands and is now in Austria. Interesting life. What brought you to Austria? Who are you? And what can we learn from you?
Boy, the question, who are you, is always one that sort of baffles me. How am I going to answer that one? A little bit about my background. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands, as you said, in a family where, I'm 57. I was raised by the generation that just was born just before the Second World War, went through all this rebuilding thing and was very much of the ilk. You have to study hard, then you can go to university. If you don't go to university, at the very least, go to college. And then you can get a good job and you can have a good career, climb the ladder, I did all these things. I could learn. I was bright enough. I decided not to go to university because I need teachers that tell me, have you done your homework? And then I'll do my homework. Otherwise, I won't. I climbed the career ladder. And when I was 39, 40, my body told me it was not a good idea to keep on working 80 hours or more per week. I was in project management. And if you've ever done project management, there's always deadlines and a lot of pressure. And I am now a recovering perfectionist. Back then, that was sort of the branch I tripped over. I went through a major burnout. And during that burnout, I came to the realization there was a really urgent need that I changed the way I was living my life. One of the things I always wanted was a dog. I got myself a dog, changed the way I was working, because how I had been doing it never would have fitted a dog in there. And I went on holiday. I went on holiday somewhere where I could bring this dog and knew it would be welcome, which happened to be Austria, which was just sort of, I could have thrown a dart at the map and landed where I landed. And something strange and amazing happened. I came to the area where I now live and I felt completely at home. I knew I was somewhere where it felt like I was supposed to be there. That feeling has never changed. I went there, I think for 2 weeks, and hiked the mountains. Somebody asked me, would you like to come and work for me as a guide? Which was sort of, all things started clicking. Sometimes things happen in life where this feels very right. So I kept on coming back to the same area in the next 3 or 4 years, I think, and worked in September, stayed for a month and worked as a guide, mountain hiking guide, knowing that at some point I was actually going to move there, but not quite knowing how I was going to make a living, because you can't live from being a mountain hiking guide. That's not
from fresh air.
Well, if I could live off that, I would do it. I would never work another day in my life. But I decided, I have a background in facility management, a degree in facility management. I thought, well, I've been managing all these office buildings. I can manage holiday properties. It's the same thing, but on a smaller scale. I decided to start doing that, combine it with mountain hiking, and just see where everything would end up. I moved to Austria in 2010, managed properties for 10 years, did a lot of guiding, especially for a year, for something like 4 or 5 years. Somewhere along the way, somebody asked me, would you like to work as a ski instructor? That's something you could do and you would be good at. I trained as a ski instructor, spent my winters as a ski instructor because there's no guiding in the winter, kept on managing the properties, did that for 10 years. Then I decided, well, I've done that long enough, because it doesn't leave you much opportunity to just drop everything and say, I'm going to go into the mountains for a week, because somebody's always wanting to rent one of those properties. And I really wanted that freedom. I decided to sell my company, which sounds bigger than it was, at the wrong time, because at the time I had made an agreement and the pandemic came and nobody rented these properties. I had handed over the properties and it didn't quite work out the way I had hoped, but I did get a lot of freedom and I did get a lot of time to hike all those mountains. Somewhere along the way in those, what's now been 12 years, I found that a lot of the conversations I was having as a guide, as I was guiding, were coaching conversations, because people kept asking me, how does a Dutch person end up in the mountains working as a mountain hiking guide, which is, I told them if I felt like it and I thought these people might take something away that's useful for them from my story, I told them my story and how that goes when you're walking with somebody. Conversations go deep very quickly. I wanted to have a more solid base to have those conversations with people, because my story is my story and not necessarily their story, and my choices are my choices and not theirs. I thought I was going to build a coaching practice and to combine that with guiding, but over the last year, I guess I've slowly come to the conclusion that I'm not, and I could have come to this conclusion a lot sooner, I'm not really a business person, because that part doesn't really interest me. I really am a mountain hiking guide, and I am a ski instructor, and I am somebody, I might not be the best skier, but I can explain to you and teach you how you do it. Ooh. There's skiers that are great, but can't really teach.
It's not so easy, the pizza and the French fries, as they call it in the US.
Exactly. It looks very easy, and people think, well, if you're a really good skier or any kind of sport, like you're a runner, the best runners are not necessarily the best running coaches.
True.
And that's in any sport. I know of really good football trainers or soccer trainers, as the Americans would say, who were not necessarily the best players on the field, but are great coaches. I am somebody who can teach or who can help people discover how they can be good at skiing or at hiking. And I worked as a tennis coach many years ago. I couldn't do that anymore. But
it's about observing. First of all, and you mentioned that on your bio, you need to be a leader before you can lead. In Switzerland, we had after-school program. It was skiing. I lived 20 minutes from the mountains, and we went every Wednesday afternoon. We went skiing. I think you have a great point. I don't know if I would be a good ski instructor. You have to teach the people, you have to observe the running, coaching.
You're a good running coach. I think if you can probably look at somebody and tell that person whether or not their gait is good, for example, or how they're landing on their feet, whether they're mid-foot or back or front, something like that. You can look at somebody and see how their body is moving. That's one of the major things I think you need to be able to do as a ski instructor as well. It's about shifting the weight. It's about looking at people. I don't always know what it is. Sometimes I have to imitate them and then feel what it is that I do, which is what they are doing. Beginners have a tendency to exaggerate anyways what it is that they're doing. You often can tell what it is they're doing wrong. It's when they get good, then it gets harder. And then there's other people who can teach them, because at some point I have to hand them over to somebody who's better than I am.
It's about reading the mountain, because as kids we went off-piste. We put the skin on the skis, so there was no teacher there. The touring.
I do that. So I kind of think I discovered I am a mountain hiking guide first, or I am somebody who is in sports first, and the coaching comes second.
There's so many parallels. That's taken from the Iron Woman. That's the philosophy: global business coaching with sports parallels.
It's life as well. If you hike many mountains, I'm assuming in your younger years when you were living in Thun, it's up and down. And sometimes you've been going up for a long time, and all of a sudden you come to a sort of a level bit, and it's not really level, but it feels level after all the climbing that you've been doing. That feels really nice, and it feels like things are going really smoothly. And then another ascent comes or a descent, and it's like life. There's so many parallels. In my own life too, I always kid that people look at my resume on LinkedIn, for example, and they see this career going up, 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 up. And all of a sudden, in people who are in that mindset of going up, 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 all of a sudden there's this dip all the way back down to the bottom. It's like, mountain hiking guide, excuse me, sorry, what? But for me, it is my up. because I was working in a hemisphere that I didn't want to be in. I was just talking about this with somebody else earlier this morning. I am sort of an outsider. I'm outside of convention by having made the choice to go do the stuff that I really want to be doing and not go for a lot of money and not go for a lot of luxury. That's why I told you before we started, I worked at a Swiss farm for 2 weeks. I always wanted to do that kind of adventure. So why not do it? I hate to say this, but I'm going on 60 and I'm like, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it?
I couldn't agree more with you. I think we just need to follow our intuition. And they talk about ikigai, the purpose. When you look at the career, you go up, up, up. But inside of yourself, do you always go up? We spoke about the consumerism. Sometimes I'm like, how many more T-shirts, how many more pairs of jeans do we need? People say you live frugally. I don't need so many things anymore.
No.
I'd rather go outside on a walk or a hike. And that's when the good stuff is happening. And when you remember things, and now that we're talking, that hiking every weekend in the mountains, this is what brought me to where I am today.
You're talking about frugal. I don't necessarily consider myself frugal, but at some point I was like, I don't need 20, 30 different kind of T-shirts. And I'm very tall for a woman. I'm 6'2" or something. I'm 184, 85. The women in Switzerland and Austria are not the tallest people.
No.
So it's hard for me to find clothing around here. At some point I was like, if Steve Jobs can walk around in a black pulley and jeans all the bloody time, I can walk around in a white T-shirt and jeans all the time. I've got 7 or 8 white T-shirts and 3 pairs of jeans, I think. I don't care where I have to go. If I have to go to a funeral or to an office, that's my outfit. It's jeans
that's
and
your
white
brand.
T-shirt. It's my personal brand. If I have to go into the mountains, I wear different gear because that cotton T-shirts are not the best for hiking. But anything else, I'm like white and blue. It's very easy and it looks good. I don't have to worry about it.
Why do we need all the shades of T-shirt? I look at my closet and I don't need so much. And compared to others, I really don't have a lot.
I remember standing in front of the closet when I had to go to work in an office and as a consultant. And I would be standing there and think, oh, I wore that yesterday. I can't wear it again today. How am I going? And it just takes out all this decision about what it is going. It's just, I pick out another white T-shirt. It looks the same as the one I wore yesterday. It's very easy. I love it.
I love it. The white T-shirt.
We were talking earlier about following your intuition and making choices based on that intuition. I think we, especially in the Western world, have learned to ignore that inner voice. We tend, as a people, to want to color inside the lines because that's what we've taught. We are expected to color inside the lines. As soon as you step outside of that, people start questioning your choices, and it's not always easy to then stick with your choice, depending on who is doing the questioning, because there's lots of people who question choices. I don't really care about your opinion, but it's the people who are closer to us. At some point, we have to accept that people worry about us when we do that, when we color outside the line. But it's their worry, and they worry about us because they care about us, but they project their fears upon us.
Isn't it sometimes that they're jealous?
There's lots of people. I'm sure people told you when you moved from Thun to New York, as people have done when I moved from the Netherlands to Austria. Oh, if only I had the courage to do this, I would. What's stopping you? Because it's not an easy choice. It's scary to do that kind of thing.
Well, I remember people ask me, what if you don't like it? What kind of a question is that?
But then I'll come back.
Then I'll come back. That was my answer. But that question was so foreign to me.
I know. It's the same thing. It's like as if when you've made a choice, it's as if that is the final choice. And no. If I've made choice A and choice A doesn't really work out the way I thought it would, I can always go to B or C or D or whatever. There's always a next choice.
There's 26 letters in the alphabet. I always
then you start again.
What is next for you?
Well, I was slated to do a lot of guiding this summer, but apparently people in Europe are still or the Dutch people anyways, are still quite hesitant about traveling in groups. and I would be guiding multiple day cabin to cabin tours.
Oh, cool.
And so that is not quite working out as I thought it would. 13 years ago, I got all my driver's licenses because I wanted to. I always wanted to be able to drive a bus and a truck and everything else. I'm working as a bus driver over the summer. I did it over the winter as well. I really like it. It's fun. I like driving the big things, and it's fun to have the interaction with the people who get on and off the bus. And I drove a ski bus for a part of the season. That's a lot of holiday people. And I want to be able to still go on adventures like the one I just did in Switzerland. And so I don't want a steady job. And I'm not quite sure where guiding and coaching is going to take me, if it's going to take me anywhere. And in the meantime, I'm doing that because I still need to pay the rent, unfortunately. If there was a way that we could, the barter system or something.
I think we'll work that out.
At some point, I think we will have to, because we cannot go on with the consumerism and the way capitalism is going. It can't. But until then, I will have to do something that I like. I don't have to do 40 hours a week. I'm not doing that 40 hours a week in the summer. It still gives me opportunity to go into the mountains a lot. That's what I'm going to be doing next. After that, another adventure, I think.
I wish I could see you in the bus in the summer or in the winter. Maybe one day I'll come and visit. But thank you so much for all your inspiration. You're paving the path forward for yourself and maybe for others. Thank you so much for taking us on your journey. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to that mountain. Let's go with Gerdi. Let's go. One step at a time, one day at a time. Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday with interesting people, inspiring people like you. You can take something away. Thank you for your support. You can find the podcast on all your preferred podcast platforms.